Should be live as well. Happy Tuesday, everyone. Happy May 30th. Sorry about the delayed start. Hope you are all doing well. The month of May is coming to a close, and Fabio and I have thought, why don't we reflect on a month? Him and I each prepared 3, 4, 5 things that kind of stick out of May. I don't know what he has prepared. He doesn't know what I have prepared. If there are things that both of us have, then yeah, I'll scratch it off my list and he scratches off his list. And then we're going to look into June and kind of reflect a bit on June. I made a bit of a list on general markets, looked a bit at my personal investments, looked a bit at the company. So that's going to be a bit the roundup. Fabio, first of all, how are you doing? How's the community? How's everything in the crypto space? Give us a bit of a status quo end of May. I think Fabio now has audio issues.
Yeah, I think now it should be working. I'm not sure if Twitter is working.
No, I can't hear you. Also, you're neither unmuted nor are you a speaker. So I don't know what happened. So yeah, okay. Then why don't I just get started in the meantime? I'll go with the first reflection and then we have Daniel come in. Sorry, we have Fabio come in and we'll start. Maybe I'll start with a conspiracy theory here that Fabio was supposed to bring up, but I'll bring it up now. So what happened to Yuzin's birthday? How come Yuzin posted 2 weeks ago on his Instagram about his 40th birthday? And why did I congratulate him today? Conspiracy theory. Maybe he has 2 birthdays. Maybe he got born twice. Maybe based on the Chinese calendar, someone celebrates 2 weeks ago and someone celebrates today. What other conspiracy theories were there? There was another conspiracy theory that says there are 2 different Yuzins. Yuzin has a doppelganger. Yeah, once Fabio manages to unmute, we can hear about the other conspiracy theories. Can you try to talk?
Is this working now on Twitter?
You're not unmuted, and you're not a speaker either. So, yeah, let's see.
Is this working?
Yes, this is working.
Okay.
Great. How are you doing? All good?
I'm just using the Cake account to speak because my Twitter Spaces seems to have some issues. I don't really know why. I tried turning it on and off again, but doesn't seem to work.
What other conspiracy theories were out there? Why Yuzin is celebrating 2 weeks ago and celebrating today?
I've encountered a few people talking about this on Telegram, on Twitter, and during the Twitter Spaces. So it was quite a topic that came up in the community. And I guess the runner-up or the most interesting theory that I heard is it's because of the Chinese calendar, because he celebrates his birthday twice, once European and once within the Asian calendar, which of course is not true. You only have one birthday, but that was probably the coolest theory that I saw.
So, what's the matter of the fact? Well, matter of the fact in the entire thing is actually that Yuzin left for the Ordinals conference in Miami about 2 weeks ago, and he only came back like I think 10 days afterwards, or like a week to 10 days afterwards. And that was the time that I had left to Europe because I'm going to be 10 days in Europe. And so we wouldn't see each other. So, and since I had literally forgotten about Yuzin's birthday last year, super shame on me. It was like, again, 30th of May. You can look in the calendar, one of the craziest times in crypto. And we had a coffee meeting, or like one of our regular breakfast meetings, and we sat down and I went straight into business because I felt there were so many things going on. And he was like expecting us to have like a breakfast lunch for him. And I was only talking business. And at the end of the breakfast, he was like, oh, and I thought we're going to celebrate my birthday and that's why we had breakfast. And I was like, oh my goodness. Worst co-founder ever. That's what I thought. Like, how terrible am I? And so I had promised myself this year for his 40th birthday, I'm definitely not going to forget it. So I had like, I don't know how many reminders set up leading up to it. And then I realized I'm actually not going to see him on his birthday. Also, I'm not going to be anywhere close because either he's gone or I'm gone. And so we celebrated, and I surprised him with like cakes and balloons and stuff 2 weeks ago in the office. And so he posted that on Instagram, basically moving his birthday 2 weeks in advance. But actually, his birthday is today. So if you want, drop him a DM or something on Twitter and wish him a happy birthday. He is 40. My goodness, he looks at least 5 years younger. But also people who know him over the last 5 years say, cake and all the stress made him age 10 years faster. I think when I met him, he looked more like 25, and now he looks more like 30 to 35. So yeah, that's the story, how Julian got 2 birthdays. Great. With that, Fabio, do you want to start? Maybe what's the status quo right now in the markets? What's the status quo in the community right now? And then from there, why don't you start with your first reflection from May?
Yeah, to tie it all together, the 3 points. So price action is definitely not something that stood out during May, and also not during April, because we practically went sideways since I think March 26th, which is more than 2 months ago. So price is not really the hot topic number one. Of course, there's still many theories to the bearish side and to the bullish side what is about to happen next. But of course, there are theories because right now nothing is happening with price. We saw a little bit of a leg down end of last week that is already recovered again, and we're right about where we started. So I would say, and clearly, this from a sentiment perspective, I would say the sentiment is pretty neutral. If you look at polls, when a big influencer or a big channel is sending out a poll and asking about what's about to happen next, it's pretty even. Sometimes slightly more to the bullish side, sometimes slightly more to the bearish side, but usually the market is reflecting a pretty neutral sentiment. What stood out to me, especially, it's not generally a May topic, but it kind of crystallized a little bit more during May, and also probably the biggest game in town right now is, I guess, the resurgence or the kind of phoenix rising out of the ashes when it comes to Bitcoin development and things happening around Bitcoin, which, since probably 2017, since the last hard fork, so Bitcoin Cash. Of course, we had Bitcoin ABC and Bitcoin SB, which was also a bit discussed within the Bitcoin ecosystem. We had some discussions about Lightning. We had some discussions about Taproot, but not a discussion that was with a lot of substance and a lot of hype. And we clearly have substance and hype right now with BRC20, with ordinals, with inscriptions, and also probably more on a culture side that everything seems to be opening up a little bit more when it comes to Bitcoin development, and also the sentiment within the community. There is some general shift in markets where you can see, like if you would formulate it in left and right sentiment measurement, there is probably a little bit of a move from some hardliner to the middle, and they're more open in things that are possible on Bitcoin, that may come to Bitcoin. So this is definitely the biggest thing that stood out to me, and it was very obvious, this whole shift during the Bitcoin conference, which was also happening during May. This would probably be the number one thing that stood out to me. What about you?
No,
you
I
have
mean, you basically you're scratching basically most of my first two things, right? Were like price moving sideways, kind of mood being very indifferent, like losing all kinds of interest being super low, and then obviously the Miami conference. So those were the first two. You're scratching those right there. In that regard, anything you want to add? I mean, for me, the point, any things that you want to add here? Price, Bitcoin Miami, and so on.
On maybe the only other thing that would be worth mentioning, is a topic that is already boring again, which was the debt ceiling. That is already, would say, history. So it's kind of delayed until January 2025, I think. But yeah, other than that, I think there's some macro things with the June outlook, but nothing more to add.
Yeah. I mean, good points. I mean, obviously, I also wrote down also in that kind of thing. Fed, obviously, the meeting. We had the BUSD selling that I had discussed a lot. Went into a very algorithmic kind of move of 250 million BUSD every week. So that became super algorithmic. We had DCG, that's going to become a topic for me, at least in June. So I'll address that. And we had almost nothing when it comes to regulation in May, unless I missed something. So yeah, this and all that. Anything there? Otherwise, I'm going to add one thing that really kind of popped up for me in May.
The only thing that we saw, so the last thing that really made news regarding regulation was the hearing with Gary Gensler, where he kind of eloquently
Man, was that in May? It feels like this was like in so much longer ago. Could be. I mean, I'm not disagreeing. I just completely felt this was so long ago already.
Yeah,
could be.
Like
No,
ages,
it could be.
I think it was in April. Not 100% sure, but my gut tells me it was in April. But since then, on a regulatory front, it's super boring. Nothing's happening. The only thing maybe is that the Democrats kind of pushed for the 30% proof of work mining tax, which is no longer being pursued. That's the only worth mentioning regulatory thing that I saw.
Yep. Okay. One point that for me really stuck out was the entire ledger drama. Yeah, and the ledger drama really stuck out for me because I think we all kind of found out how ledger or self-custody in the first place, let's talk about self-custody, is actually really, really difficult. And if you don't want to rely on anyone, it's almost impossible, because that means you cannot, like, we found out that even you have to rely to like firmware upgrades on any kind of hardware wallet. You have to like rely on so many kind of intermediary steps. And it just shows how difficult self-custody has become, and was such a big reminder for myself to diversify, have some of your funds in custody, have some funds in non-custody as much as possible, and really kind of diversify. So that for me is definitely going to be a reminder in May. I think this was a bit of a glass shattered, because, I mean, and I want to be very clear on this, since I'm in this space, I don't know when, so I got into this space 9 years ago. I don't know when hardware wallets came out. I feel like I would say 2017, 2016. I think the first Ledger hard wallet was not a USB stick. It was a USB stick, but it was like, it looked like a key. That was the first one that I had. I don't know what anyone else had. There was nothing to type in, and it was really like, it didn't have the hardware stuff on it. It was just that the private key was stored on that key. And I think I would say that this was 2016, gut feeling wise. So for the last 7 years, basically, I was of the firm belief that you cannot get a private key off that thing. And it's clear that I don't think Ledger intentionally lied to us, or all the hardware wallets kind of intentionally lied to us, but they just kind of conveniently were very ambiguous about it. So yeah, that's my big revelation for me. I don't know if you want to add anything, or anything you disagree with here, or anything you want to add.
So I followed the topic very, very closely, because I exclusively use Ledger as a storage for my Bitcoin. And so I was super interested in the development. So I personally use Ledger Nano S, which is not really affected. The S Plus and the X are the ones that are affected, but it is more, let's say, maybe a reputation, or as you said, was it a lie, or was it just not telling the whole truth? And I watched on What Bitcoin Did, the biggest Bitcoin podcast, with Peter McCormack. They actually invited the CEO of Ledger in a discussion, and it was a heavy discussion, my God. And he handled it like a pro. I have to say, he was there with like Matt Odell and 2 others, which I can't remember the name, and they gave him a lot of fire, a lot of tough questions, and he managed very well. Like I was surprised by how well he did in that discussion, and it kind of I'm not as worried now as I were when the news came out. I still trust Ledger to do the right thing, because from a customer's perspective, you always need to put things into perspective. And he actually said something that resonated quite well with me. And he said, Ledger in its current form and the things that they did with this recovery scheme and the subscription model, that it's not perfect and there are some risks, but this is an order of magnitude or a factor of 100 better than keeping your coins on exchanges. And I fully agree with him there. Like taking self-custody and owning it, you're halfway there. Of course, then there is finding the best solution and so on. But there is clearly a market for this multi-sig setup with a subscription for people. I can clearly see that there are people in the middle that worry with storing their seed phrase just by themselves. They would rather have a company and a partner in crime, if you want to, if you put it like that, that helps them, that gives them this exit door or recovery door just in case they mess up. And Ledger is, I think, trying to cater more into a general market, because people that are really that feel very, very strong about self-custody, they're already moving away from Ledger. They're already moving maybe into Blockstream, Jade, or into Trezor, or into Bitbox, or into more niche products that are but Ledger is I think still the biggest company when it comes to hardware wallets, and they're trying to innovate. They're trying new things, and so far, what the CEO also said is they haven't had a single incident. But of course, it's a small alley that they need to navigate when it comes to trust. And but at least they try to approach this issue head on. They try to be transparent, and they try to innovate. I'm still going to stick with Ledger for now, but I'm looking for other opinions, for other options maybe for the later part of the year. I don't know what about you, Julian? What you have a personal recommendation? What do you personally use?
I don't want to share too much of my personal usage. I think I mean, I mentioned this many times. I still don't see why now suddenly Ledger should be trusted less or more versus other hardware wallets. If before you were comfortable with Ledger, I think you should be still comfortable, unless you know exactly how to do self-custody, which means like running all the nodes yourself, using a computer that like is completely fresh, writing down paper wallets and so on. I don't know. I just don't see that. So yeah. A bit of a stretch, to be honest. Yeah. Your turn. Anything else that sticks out of me?
No, not really. It wasn't that exciting of a month, but of course, yeah. Ledger, Bitcoin conference, ordinals, inscriptions, BRC20, meme coins. That's about it from my side. I don't have any more on my list.
The only thing is something internal. I mean, what stuck out for me, I mean, just the YouTube video came out, was the team trip. Watch that YouTube video. It's quite crazy. It came out here on the channel. It was kind of parallel now to our space for the very simple reason, because our space was delayed by like an hour. But yeah, team trip, I think that was, for me, very, very powerful with everyone in the company. And second one,
just one thing on the team trip. So the video goes live tomorrow.
It's tomorrow? I thought it went live at the same time. No, tomorrow. You're right. Tomorrow at the same time. Okay, I thought it came out. It came out today. Yeah, you're right. Okay, tomorrow.
So definitely head over to YouTube and add a notification. The live stream is going to happen tomorrow, I think 3 p.m. UTC and 9 p.m. Singapore time, and it is quite an exciting video to watch. Yeah, you should definitely set up your notifications and tune in tomorrow.
Yes, I agree, because it's going to be really crazy. And the other thing, obviously, a long-awaited upgrade on DeFi chain with FloppyNet Live in May. I think this was super long-awaited. I would have loved this to happen in Q4 last year already, and didn't, because of all the firefighting. So that's very, very positive in the entire aspect. So yeah. That's good. These are kind of my main reflections, really, for me. I agree with you. Very quiet month. Price is obviously down. Let's take a look. Where are we on the monthly? I'll pull it up for you in just a second here. Returns. Okay, Bitcoin down slightly. 5% this year, this month so far. So I mean, it's the first red month. If it closes at that, so it has a little bit up to go still. I mean, if it closes, I think above 30,000, then yeah, we get somewhere. Ethereum. Let me look up Ethereum over the last month. Actually, Ethereum is slightly up. Interesting. At the moment, but really, really just slightly, like 1% up over the last months. Wow. Interesting. Okay. So yeah. Okay. Good. Anything else? Otherwise, we move into June. Great. Do you want me to start for June, and then you go next? I think. Obviously, I mean, a lot of things can happen always. So I don't want to talk so much about price. I want to talk about events that are fairly certain. Maybe Fabio has some opinions on technical analysis, on price and so on. But for me, the first thing that I'm expecting, and it's going to happen probably in the first 7 to 10 days in June, is a clarification on digital currency group. And in theory, it is possible that in the first 7 to 10 days of June, digital currency group will be pushed into involuntary Chapter 11. So it's a possibility. And that would be absolutely insane, because if that happens, that would mean that it's a very high likelihood that over some time, and again, the timeline of this is very, very uncertain, the Grayscale Trust, especially Bitcoin, would be dissolved, and that would not be bullish for the price. So that is something we're going to see in the first 7 to 10 days. Yeah, that's a main one that I'm looking into, and I would hope that there's no Chapter 11. I'm just not so confident we're not going to see this. So yeah, first thing. I don't know if you have thoughts on this, Fabio, or otherwise we just go on.
I didn't even know that this is going to happen within the next 10 days. So no thoughts on this, but I guess this is a topic that is worth following very closely.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah. Next.
From my side?
Yes.
Okay. So the things that I think will I think this Friday is the first is euro inflation, European inflation, and of course I live in the European Union. This affects me directly, and it is a very important inflation print because a lot of people follow the United States when it comes to inflation very closely. They know the CPI, they know the inflation data, and so on, but they kind of forget about the European Union or about Great Britain and what's going on here. And here in the European Union, inflation is still running hot. We still have high inflation here. And this print in June, 1st of June, I think they're going to publish the data, could be the first print that we see a slowdown and maybe a turnaround. And I really hope so. The ECB is expected to still hike rates. And here we go into the second part of that topic, because we have the next Fed meeting, I think 13 or 14 of June, which is in 2 weeks. I think tomorrow in 2 weeks. And the expectation there is that they pause. At least my expectation. And if you follow, for example, what's happening on CME, which market participants are kind of betting or predicting what is going to happen, the market seems to be aligned with a pause. And it would be interesting there what that would mean. So to go into the dubious speculation part there, my personal expectation is that they are going to pause, which would probably mean on the Wednesday, the 14th, when they announce it. This is like 7 o'clock in the night for Europeans. That we are probably gonna see a little bit of a pump. That the markets are gonna be excited that they are pausing. Just a confirmation of what is already kind of expected. But I wouldn't think that this is a sustained rally or anything. It's just some super short-term hope, and people think, okay, everything is going to change now. But historically, usually when they pause or when they pivot, is the start of the real rally downwards. At least historically, this was the case. So that would also be my expectation, that we probably see a pause and some negative price action afterwards. I don't. Do you have any thoughts on that, or are you aligned with a pause?
Did you see the probabilities? Wait, let me just pull up the recent probabilities. Have you looked at the recent probabilities? Wait, what is the current one? Yeah,
I haven't looked at it in a week.
It's just insane, really. Let me pull up the current probability here. It's surprising, seriously. Here. 60% think actually of a rate hike right now. So there's 60% chance of a rate hike, only 40% chance actually think rates stay the same. Now, quite interesting. Obviously, there's still 2 weeks to go. This means there's still a lot of possibilities on this. But yeah, absolutely crazy. Yeah, I have this. I mean, the point is also actually, that was funny. That was my second point. So yeah, no, but I do believe it's gonna stay.
Why do you think it changed so drastically? Because a week ago or 2 weeks ago, it was still like 80 to 90% expected a pause, and now they're slightly in favor of a hike. Why do you think that this changed so drastically?
I don't know. I just think people are, because of inflation still going hot and so on. So I think that part of it. Yeah. 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 So I think that was the I think that was the final kind of push, in my opinion.
It like there's two separate kind of things that play into this. So on in a general market, I think it's so surprising if you look at certain assets, like for example Google or Apple. Have you checked those charts? Like in the last few weeks, they're doing insanely good.
Yeah, that they're close to an all-time high. Yes,
close to an all-time high, with rates this high, with everybody expecting a recession, with like it doesn't really make a lot of sense to me. And while these assets are performing insanely well, you have a lot of assets like, for example, Bitcoin, that is at a very pivotal point. So it's slightly above the 200 weekly moving average, and it is like kind of due to a decision. There needs to be a decision pointing in either one direction. Either we find support on the 200 weekly moving average, and this is it. We might move to the upside, or we break down and we see lower prices again. And this coincides a bit with, for example, the Nasdaq or the DXY, the dollar index. Everything is like right there at a pivoting point. So I'm not sure what another rate hike would do and how the market would take that. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, sure. A lot of people always talk about maximum pain, right? And I mean, sure, what's more maximum pain than going so close? And yeah, So yeah.
Yeah.
My next point is the after effects of the US debt ceiling being increased. And I think that's going to be a bearish effect for the reason because it's actually going to suck out liquidity out of the market. And why is it going to do that? Because how is this liquidity actually raised in the first place? It's raised via bonds. So this bond selling is actually going to put pressure on the bond market, which is going to suck out short-term liquidity, aka US dollars. It's going to harden the dollar, and I think it's going to be a bit of a bearish kind of push here. That doesn't mean that now we're going to see a crash in the market. I just think that it's going to have a bit of a negative effect on any kind of rally. I think the DXY is going to go up, so the dollar strength is actually going to go up. And that's just a bit of my thoughts. Counter thoughts from your side on this. Do you think we're actually going to see more of a rally because of that? I mean, the market was relatively bullish because of it over the weekend. I think we're going to see a bit of the aftermath here, and it's not going to be so bullish.
You're actually a bit of a contrarian with that viewpoint, because if you follow general fintech or finance or macro news, it's dominated right now by people talking about the de-dollarization, a move to that BRICS is moving away from the dollar, and everybody seems to be bearish on the dollar. So you being slightly bullish on the dollar is actually being very contrarian. As you know, for quite a while, I'm super bullish on the dollar. It's not. We can talk about this here, but I'm expecting the dollar to run higher. I'm a big believer in what's his name? There is a guy, Brandon. His first name is Brandon. I don't know his last name. He came up with a theory that is called the dollar milkshake theory, and he came up with that a while back. I think it was in 2019 or 2020, and he predicted a big run up in the dollar before finally maybe a capitulation of the whole fiat system. But it's like the system can end in two states, in fire and in ice. And what is a bit counterintuitive is a strong dollar would actually be ice, because it just puts a heavy load on everybody that has debt in dollar, and the whole world is debted in dollar, and the US has practically this capability of sucking up all the liquidity. And I was expecting the dollar to do much better than it did. It had a really strong year in 2022, but since then, since about October or November last year, it doesn't do so well. And the general sentiment around the dollar is very, very bearish. Everybody's talking about the BRICS countries, Russia, India, doing trade in other currencies, that they even think about setting up their own reserve currency or basket of currency. So I guess it's probably one of the most important macro topics or things that is going on is how the world is evolving into probably a multipolar system. So we had a thing like a mono culture practically, where the US as reserve currency was the only thing that there was. And a very likely scenario is that we move more into a multipolar world where there is several bigger currencies to go to. That doesn't mean that this is super bearish for the dollar, in my opinion. But it's definitely very, very interesting to follow, and has also implications on the price of everything, because the dollar is like is numerator and denominator, so everything is divided by the dollar, so it kind of has an impact on all prices, how the dollar is performing.
Yep. No. Yeah, couldn't agree more. Next prediction. Your turn. I went first.
Just for June?
If you want to go further out, you can. I would have gone June. what's next for me? Yeah, I mean, mine is still June. It's more of an internal thing. But if you have anything else, I mean, I don't have anything on the general side of things. So I'll let you go with June.
Since a while now, I'm the first time I brought that up in the beginning of April that I'm expecting a sell away and go away summer moment. I kind of have to revise this statement because I said it early April and it kind of didn't came true. Of course, there wasn't any massive price action, neither to the upside or to the downside. But it definitely wasn't sell away in May. It's still May today. Tomorrow it won't be. But there is the issue that bothers me. It's not really a prediction, but there are so many things that we kind of forgot about. You know, you recently touched on the whole digital currency group, which may or may not be unfolding over the coming 10 days. But people seem to have been forgotten about other things that are. We still have other massive institutions that are in process of liquidation, like Voyager and BlockFi and FTX and all of this is also like a bit of a dark cloud hanging among us. And I haven't seen anybody talking about Mt. Gox that is still going to unfold towards the later part of this year. So I sell away in May. I need to revise that statement. It's probably not going to be true, but I'm still slightly bearish for the mid to short term. Not in the long term. In the long term, I'm still super bullish. But as we have seen in almost all bear markets when it comes to Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies, we saw first capitulation, which happened at the end of the last year. But almost every time we retested the bottom. I'm not saying that we're going to break down and we're going to see the 12,000 level that everybody's talking about, but probably a short retest in the vicinity of 20,000. I could completely foresee that maybe unfolding for the later part of the year. Short-term predictions or anything related to June, I don't have anything worth mentioning. I'm going to throw the ball to you here. Cake is going to be having its fourth birthday. So.
Yes, so that is exactly. So that is one thing. June 7th. Yeah, it's gonna be our fourth Cake anniversary. We're gonna do the official celebration. I mean, we're gonna announce it and so on in a week. But we're gonna push the official kind of party and so on actually back 2 weeks. Simply because either Yuzen or myself is not in Singapore during that time. So for us to be both in Singapore, celebrate, maybe, I don't know, announce a couple of exciting things, reveal a couple of things. Yeah, that's going to happen a bit later. So yeah, that's going to be the, yeah, that's going to happen a bit later. So that's going to be a key one. I'm excited for that. Obviously 4 years, what a journey. So that's really cool. Another thing, DeFi chain. Hopefully, I mean, if everything goes well, end of June, maybe beginning of July, let's see, meta chain upgrade should happen. And that's going to be a big push. Obviously, a lot of us DeFi investors. So that's going to be a big push. So that's also something I'm really looking into. On the Ethereum side, I'm not expecting much. Ethereum very calm right now. Yeah, obviously ordinals still a big topic. So yeah, these are key things. That's pretty much it from my side. I don't know if there's anything else that I'm expecting or that I would be looking forward to in a positive or negative sense. Anything else from your side?
One of the clouds that is still hanging above us, which I'm also not really expecting any major news, but we still kind of wait for that whole regulatory thing to unfold. Like we saw the great push happening or beginning in January, but nothing really happened out of it. There was a lot of speculation and a lot of fire and words said. What is a security and what is not a security? What is a commodity and what to regulate and what not to regulate? But a lot of words were said, but in the end, nothing really happened. So are you expecting something to happen on the regulatory front sometime soon, or is this more or less a nothing burger?
I don't know. So difficult to predict. And sometimes you get like U-turns thrown. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. How do you see this? I mean, difficult.
Yeah, I don't know. there is a lot of rumors that they want to replace Gary Gensler, and he gets a lot of flack. And he's attacked a lot, especially on social media. Like, I dare you, go onto Gary Gensler's Twitter and go into the comment section of any of his tweets. It's a war zone. Like, really, it's crazy. He gets a lot of flack, and it's also maybe a fun exercise because they fabricate these funny videos where they talk about proof of stake and they compare it with eating a steak and try to make puns and with words and things, explain them as good as they can, but it's a bit cringy. I don't know. I still think they're probably not going to touch it before elections. Like a lot of, in the Bitcoin space, there is a lot of talk about single issue voters, and we don't really know in Europe what a single issue voter is. In the United States, it's a much broader term. It's practically when there is this one issue that you really, really care about, and you don't really care if it's Republican, if it's Democrat, or who is saying what. You only care about their stance on this single issue. And of course, for a lot of people, this might be cryptocurrencies or Bitcoin in particular. And that's probably also why we saw two presidential candidates talking about Bitcoin, about cryptocurrencies at Bitcoin Miami this year, because they want to have voters. And for a lot of smart politicians, it's very obvious that this is like a win-lose scenario. You don't really win voters by taking a stance against cryptocurrencies. There is almost nobody that is going to vote for you because you say, I'm going to go after them. But you probably get a lot of voters that care about you and going to vote for you and even finance your campaign if you're pro cryptocurrencies and pro Bitcoin. So my expectation is that probably not a lot is going to happen before re-elections or before the midterms.
True, I agree. Yeah, no, really agree. Nothing else from my side. Calm week. Yeah. With that, anything else we need to announce? I don't think so. Just watch the vlog tomorrow. Anything else?
We have concluded our Pizza Day promotion. I think yesterday or the day before. Thanks for everybody that participated. In about 7 days or 6 days from now, we are going to announce the winner of the promotion, because there is still like a buffer zone in between the price prediction and the date where we announce the winner. Because if you can predict the price just a day or two before the date, it's fairly easy to make a prediction. But we have a 7-day buffer, so watch out on our socials, on Telegram. If you participated, we're going to announce the winners there, and we might have something planned for our birthday, which is very soon. So make sure to follow us on Twitter, on Telegram, or on any other social, Instagram, whatever you prefer. We are going to have a few exciting things there for you within the next coming weeks.
Cool. Thanks, everyone. Have a good Tuesday. Have a good rest of the week. Stay healthy. Stay safe. Thanks for tuning in, even though we've been late today. So we're going to try to be on time next time. Appreciate it very much. All the best. Bye-bye.